Good.
All right. Let me let a couple other people in. Who wants to share some good news? Mary, tell us who you brought into the office yesterday.
That was my new friend, Antonia. I met her at an open house. I was doing an open house in Sandy Springs. We started chatting in the driveway, and she was telling me that she was in school getting her real estate license. She was from the medical field, and had a very good conversation. Started talking about our office and how great it was, and getting in with the right people, because I did not at first. I got with the wrong group and was not successful. So I started talking about getting in with the wrong people and having the support that you need in your office, and then getting in with the PC group and having that extra support there. And invited her to our meeting yesterday. She was very amazed with it. Of course, we had a low turnout due to the Rona, but she loved the meeting and loved everything that we talked about. Enjoyed meeting you, Bill.
Yeah.
She's going to tune in tomorrow morning for our team meeting. So
Beautiful.
hopefully she tests on Saturday. She has her state test on Saturday. Hopefully she will come on board with us.
Love that. Love that.
Oh, and also, yeah, she has an appointment tomorrow with the office. Also, forgot that.
Nice. Okay, beautiful. That it's I've found oftentimes when you're chatting with somebody, it's hard to say, like, it's hard to vocalize how you feel and what you learn, and how it might be different from other places. Sometimes you just got to experience it, right? You just got to hear it or see it, or chat with somebody that's had that type of kind of two different experiences, and just hear what they have to say, right? It may not all be perfect, but we're here to learn, right? And Corey did something similar. Corey, what did you do yesterday? Are you near
Did I
the?
just do my name?
There you go. Go ahead, Corey.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stepped out of the room for a second, but I thought I heard my name, but I could have
Yes.
been wrong.
What did you? We were just hearing from Miri about how she brought a guest into the training yesterday, or the meeting yesterday, and I know that you have been busy doing something similar. Can you share your experience? You're back on mute.
Oops, thank you. So yeah, I have a friend that I used to work with at Turner, and so we were all part of a group that was part of a reorganization. So we all lost our jobs together, and I decided to go into real estate, and she wasn't quite sure what she was going to do, and so we were all at lunch one day with some of our former coworkers, and I was just talking about it, and she's an organization freak, so I said, well, I've got a big ass binder that's already ready to go for you if you want to use my big ass binder. Had all the chapters, I had everything organized, and she's like, oh, big ass binder, that's gonna make that, anyway, it was just a joke, but little things like that. And I was just telling her how much I liked it. And so anyway, she came in yesterday and met with Robin. And then I told Bill if he would try to poke his head in to say hello. And so, I know she's going to be interviewing other brokerages, which is totally her prerogative. It's a big decision to make. And there are a lot of other, so I need to make, arm myself with the knowledge of what are these other brokerages offering, because I know that some of, like, maybe Zillow and like I've seen that they offer benefits, and like it's not a true sales position.
Yeah, that's a really important point to make. I could go on for hours on this, but everything is, you just got to weigh what are the opportunities and what are the benefits, right? So there are, like Redfin, for example, it's a salary type of job, right? You do get some benefits, you get a salary, and they tell you what to do all day. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying you're not an entrepreneur, right? You're not building your business.
Right.
And for some people, that's a great match, and for other people, it's not. And one of the things I often say, I've already said it like 3 times today already, is the best decision is to make is an informed decision, right? We want our sellers to make informed decisions. We want our buyers to make informed decisions. We want our agents to make informed decisions, right? I don't want to just push somebody to make a choice that doesn't make sense for them. Look, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and this is maybe a strange way of saying this, but I'm not loyal to Keller Williams. Okay, I'm loyal to the quality of life that I've been able to earn from my partnership with Keller Williams. But let me tell you something. I'm a smart business guy, and I got my eyes open, and I will always have my eyes open. And if Keller Williams screws up or somebody else delivers something better, I might consider it. You see what I'm saying?
Well, and
But
I
I've been
think,
looking around for 10 years and it hadn't happened yet.
yeah, and I think that that's a really good way to approach it, because, you know, for myself, you know, I worked in the corporate world for so many years, and, you know, they had all the power, really. It was like, well, if we decide to terminate you, then that's just the way it is.
We'll just call it a reorganization so you feel better about it.
Yeah, like, and that was looming for months and months too. So
Oh, man.
I was actually excited when it came. I wanted a package.
It all comes down to the power, you guys. It's all power and control. That's all it's about. The question is who's in power and who's in control. And the second you go take a job, you're not in power anymore. Right? If you want to control, you got to create it. Right? It's the end of the story.
Well, and I think it's also scary too. So for a lot of people who have never been in that position, it's daunting because there's a lot of pressure on you, you know, to figure it out, how you're going to make it work for yourself.
There's a line, I actually have it on my board up there. It says, pressure is a privilege. Okay, pressure is a privilege. Nothing, you remember, you know what we have on our daily success list? What does it say exactly? Everything worthwhile is uphill and nothing automatically goes uphill. Like, it's all in how you choose what actions you take, right? And how you think, which is what we're going to talk about today. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Who else wants to share some good news? Who's had some paperwork signed lately? Who's got something they want to share? Anything?
Well, I went under contract for the 3rd time on a listing. Let's just keep all our fingers crossed that this one goes through and we don't have any weird excuses for for terminating.
Well, and the good news is back in the olden days, if we had to put a home under contract 3 times, it might take us 6 months to figure it all out. Now you can put a home under contract 3 times in like a week, right?
Yes,
And
and we have a backup.
Right, and every time you do it, the phone starts buzzing again, right?
Very true, very true.
All right, let's watch this video.
As you begin to challenge yourself, you'll discover some things about yourself that you don't know right now. The other thing is you begin to look at yourself, look at your dreams, and begin to experiment and stepping into your greatness. One of the things that's very important, whatever goals and dreams that you have, make your move before you're ready. We're instructed in life to walk by faith and not by sight. See, you want to really begin to stretch yourself. You want to become a risk taker. You want to raise the bar on yourself. Most people won't do that. See, most people engage in low life living, low risk living. This God said, if you're not willing to risk, you cannot grow. And if you cannot grow, you cannot become your best. And if you cannot become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? And so you want to begin to take some chances. You want to begin to challenge yourself and make it okay to fail and learn from your failure. Don't allow fear of failure and the allure, the attractiveness of playing it safe
We watched this one yesterday, didn't we? Let's watch it again. I'm already inspired again.
in life to draw you in. You can't get out of life alive. You gotta leave. There are a lot of people who are biting their fingers in fear that they might lose their jobs. But there are few people who have decided within themselves, I'm going to make it. Some people aren't waiting to be cut. Some people are moving on their own because they feel within themselves, I've got what it takes to make it. They're not afraid about tomorrow because of how they see themselves, because of what they feel that they deserve, because of what they feel that they can create for themselves. Because these people have decided, as they look at the future, as they look at themselves, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way for me to begin to create a way out of no way. And when you have that kind of consciousness, when you have that kind of spirit, nothing can stop you. Nothing. What would your life be like as you look toward the future if you decided, I'm not going to allow my fears to stop me? What would your life be like? What would your future be like if you decided to want that which you desire so strongly that it prepares you past your fears, that you experience the fear, as the one book says, feel the fear and do it anyway? What would your life be like?
All right. Pretty applicable to what we were talking about, huh? Okay. I've already had a request for the link. How exciting. All right, we're changing lives. Okay, guys. Somebody that maybe didn't speak yesterday or didn't see this yesterday, what are your thoughts?
I think it was great, Bill.
You know, thank you for sharing that. It all comes down to, you know, what are you willing to do that the next guy's not willing to do, right? Did you guys see that clip? They showed it a few times of the guy climbing the side of the mountain, the face of the mountain. You know what that is, right? That's what's it called? Free Solo, I think it's called. Yeah, Free Solo, which is a documentary on this dude who climbed the face of that rock, which is like one of the El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. And they made a movie / documentary about it. Oh my gosh, that is some of the most inspiring stuff I've ever seen. So I'll post a link about that a little bit later. Okay, I want to talk to you guys about the 6 personal perspectives. Who knows what the 6 personal perspectives are? And this is gonna be a little interactive. I'm gonna share my screen again. I'm gonna ask you guys to read some stuff. So I'll get that set up. Who knows what the 6 personal perspectives are? Anybody? Okay, the 6 personal perspectives, let me give you a little bit of background. I want you to imagine one office in Austin, Texas in the early 80s, 1983. Gary Keller starts an office of what ultimately became Keller Williams in Austin, Texas. Remax comes to town a couple of years later. Remax was a new model at the time, 100% model, and took over half of the agents and the entire administrative team of his brokerage. And he got the remaining leaders around and what created essentially what became the first Agent Leadership Council, and said, guys, I don't want this to ever happen again. So what kind of company do we have to build? What do we need to offer our people? What do we need to do and believe in such that this never happens again, right? And ultimately, they came up with the ideas of the Agent Leadership Council. They came up with the ideas of opening the books, right? We're an open book company, so you can see every dollar that comes in and leaves. You can see what Aubrey makes, what Robin's bonus is. You can see it all, okay? They came up with profit share. They said they wanted to be the leader in training. We're now the #1 company for training in the world, not just real estate companies. We're in the Training Magazine's Hall of Fame, right? So when Gary was growing his company, this was the core curriculum that was taught, the 6 personal perspectives. And there was a time, and we might be getting back to this soon, where every single class that was taught started with some of these concepts. Okay, so these are the 6 personal perspectives. Okay, the first step, we'll do 3 today and the other 3 tomorrow. Okay, #1 is commit to self-mastery. Okay, I'm going to nail it. I'm going to master this. This is this idea of if you can't, get control of yourself, right? If you can't create habits and disciplines and focus and things that we just heard, it's going to be hard to take your life to the next level. Is that fair to say? Okay. If you can't get out of bed, how are you going to make big things happen? Right? If you can't smile, how are you going to get other people to smile around you? You see what I'm saying? The next thing is committing to the 80-20 principle. Do you guys know what the 80-20 principle is? Who wants to tell me?
Typically, it's 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients.
Exactly. What they found is a concept that was originally discovered in Italy about 200 years ago. And what they found was that there was a relationship between inputs and outputs. Okay, I believe the first example of this is they found that 80% of the pea pods came from, or the peas came from 20% of the pea pods. And they started to look at that and see if there was other examples of relationships like that. They actually found that approximately 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of people, right? 20% of your, or 80% of your results will happen from 20% of your work, or 80% of your income will come from 20% of your clients, right? We say that the job description of a real estate agent is lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and practicing in role play. Okay. Everything else, that's the 20%. Everything else is 80%. Notice how they have not added update my Facebook status as a job of the real estate agent, right? So an administrative assistant or somebody like that can handle the 80% while you go work on finding business, nurturing business, and putting things under contract and practicing and getting real good, right? In real estate, I would argue it's probably like the 95-5 rule. 5% of the people are making 95% of the money, and the rest of everyone else is fighting over 5% of the money. Make sense? So let me ask you, which side would you prefer to be on? Right? Okay, the next concept is called moving from E to P. E is what's called entrepreneurial. P is purposeful. We'll look at a little graph in a second that shows you what that looks like, right? I am purposeful about breaking through the ceiling of my ceiling of achievement. Number 4, making being learning based the foundation of your action plan. I unlimit my thinking, or I'm sorry, I am willing to be taught and I always pursue learning, right? It's coming into a new industry and say, yeah, I might have been in sales before. Yeah, I've managed people before, whatever, but I don't know much about this business. So I'm just going to check my ego at the door and I'm going to open my mind and I'm going to learn from people that have already made mistakes that I don't really feel like making. I'm going to learn from people that have already spent money that didn't generate the results they wanted, and they can teach me what they learned, right? Next, removing limiting beliefs. I unlimit my thinking and my success. What happens if you go through thinking that cold calling's not for you, or door knocking's not for you, or open houses is not for you, and you just choose not to do it? How much is that costing you? And what if you're wrong? What if cold calling is for you? What if you really like it, right? Again, you guys have heard my stance on cold calling, and you've heard my stance on any lead generation activity you don't really want to do, which is, Jeannie, if you came to me and you said, Jeannie's relatively or basically brand new to the business, right? And she says, I don't want to do any cold calling. Say, okay, so let me ask you a quick question. So the methods of lead generation you do want to do, how are we doing? What's the results of that? Well, I haven't had an appointment in 3 months. Okay, you might want to try some cold calling because whatever you're doing ain't working. So it's black and white. If you don't want to do it, then what are the results of what you do want to do? And if they're not where they need to be, then you either need to get really good at that stuff or do more of it or experiment with some different stuff. Is that fair? Okay. And finally, be accountable. So I want to congratulate you all because you're accountable, right? You joined a productivity coaching program. You have peers and myself and Candace around you that want to support you. By the way, Candace is at a 2-day training on Train the Presenter. So she's not playing hooky today. She is being learning based. Okay. And finally, it's mine. I own it. I'm accountable. Okay. So let's look at these a little bit in a little bit more detail. Okay. The first one, I want you to look at, this is a kind of a bit of a coaching document here. So it's a reality check. High achievers all have a reality mindset. That is the first thing they do is recognize where they are and proactively take action based on that reality. Without this reality check, many people are under the delusion that they are farther along than they actually are. With a sound reality check, they can calibrate the tools and resources they will need to achieve their goals. So the first question is, what is the goal? The second question is, how are you doing with your goal? The third question is, how do you feel? Right? My goal is to sell 10 homes. I'm on track to sell 2. How do you feel? Right? No judgment. Maybe your goals have changed, your needs have changed. It's just a reality check. What is the score? How are we doing? Right? Is enough money coming in? Am I getting the satisfaction and fulfillment I wanted from this business? Am I able to provide for all the people that are expecting me to provide? Right? How do we feel? And finally, what will the future look like if you do not achieve your goal? Like, can you still stay in real estate? Can you still give the kids what they're expecting or what you promised them or what they deserve, if that's a good word, right? So I'm trying really hard to not say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's what recording your numbers is, guys. That's why if you didn't go on an appointment this week, I don't want you to not fill it out or leave it blank. I want you to put a 0. You earned a 0. Let's just have a reality check around it. Okay? We can't fix it. Well, we can't fix what has happened in the last 7 days. We just got to look forward and do different stuff, right? So if you fail to record the numbers, who is that serving? You're just postponing the inevitability of the score. Okay. Anyone like sports here? Okay. Jeannie, would you watch sports if they didn't keep score?
Nope, I like the competition.
It'd be boring as hell. The score is so important, they got it put as a graphic on the screen. So you constantly know what the score is. When was the last time you took score? Right? Do you know what your net worth is? I mean, we could look at a lot of different scores, right? We're business people. Do we have business accounts? Do we have business savings accounts? Capital accounts? Right? Do we own a business? Or are we fooling ourselves? And I know a lot of us are new. I'm not trying to be all over you. I'm teaching you that the more of these concepts you learn about and you put into action, the more promise that you'll have, the more potential that you'll have. Okay, so let's ask a question here about self-mastery. Who wants to read? Let's be a little interactive for a minute. Who wants to read self-mastery right here? Jeannie, you look like you're very close to the mute button. Go ahead and read that for us.
Is that top box?
Please.
Okay. Self-mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make you the master of you.
Okay, and then when you commit to, or let's read the little sentence. High achievers understand that before they can pursue mastery of any endeavor they choose to undertake, they must commit to pursuing a baseline of self-mastery that once attained will allow them to master other things outside of themselves. When you commit to achieving self-mastery, Corey, could you read that for us, those three things? Everyone get close to the computer, get ready to be on camera, and get ready to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I'm getting a call right now.
Okay.
I can
who else
read
wants
it.
to read? Tracy,
I can read.
please.
1, know your goals. 2, know your strengths and weaknesses. And 3, know how to work with both your strengths and weaknesses to seek and master the necessary knowledge, skills, and habits to reach your goals.
Love it. Let's put a real estate spin on this for a second. Let's say I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's probably one skill that is more important than any other skill in real estate. Does anyone want to take a guess of what I'm thinking about?
Listening?
Yeah. Well, what you said sounded like another skill, which is probably the second most important skill, which is listening. But the one I think I heard you say is listings, right?
Oh, no, I said listening, but
Okay, I'd say that's probably number 2.
got
But
it.
listing appointments is the most important skill you can have, right? From beginning to the end, how do we court the seller? How do we present to the seller? How do we deal with any objections they might have? How do we get it to the closing table? How do we present to them, etc. Right? So wouldn't it make sense to be like a sponge when it comes to experienced real estate agents that have success in real estate or have success with listings? Like, have you guys ever YouTubed or Googled like listing presentations and just watched them and watched the words they used and how, when they paused and how loud they spoke and where they sat at the table and all these kind of things? You see what I'm saying? Guys ever, like, sometimes it can get a little hard to do this, and this is a complete tangent, but if you sit on opposite sides of the table when you're presenting to somebody, you kind of feel like you're not on the same team. And we are, in fact, on the same team. Does that make sense? So if given a chance, maybe you sit in like a square table, one sits on one side and the other sits kind of, diagonal from them. That creates more of a team concept, a team atmosphere, right? Then when you're talking about price, you're talking about like, how do we set the right price so that we can be successful? Not, well, I think it should be 340, you think it should be 345, let's fight about it for a minute. And then because I, wasn't projecting the right energy, you go choose a different agent. Make sense? Okay. Be first the master of yourself, and only then can you master anything else. Okay. Let's look at this example. Put the pieces together to achieve self-mastery. The first piece of the puzzle is to identify your goal. Let's say your goal is to master prospecting. The next step is to identify your strengths and weaknesses. Okay, I'm good with people, yet I'm a little uncomfortable about bringing up business. Okay, well, once you're aware of these, you can create a plan to master prospecting. So if somebody's uncomfortable about bringing up business, it is generally because they lack confidence or they lack knowledge. Is that fair? Because oftentimes, particularly for somebody new, if they fail to bring, or if they fail to bring up business, it's because they're kind of worried about what happens if they do bring up business, right? Maybe they'll ask me a question I don't know the answer to, or maybe it'll feel salesy, or maybe I don't have enough value to bring so that it doesn't feel salesy. Why would they choose me, when they could choose that guy on the billboard, right? So what's our plan? Our plan is to practice what to say, right? Take Bold, which is a training program that we have, which is a conditioning program, right? It helps you develop good habits, helps address the way you think about things. And then you just call the people that love you already. You see what I'm saying? Mastery starts with a decision. You can never master anything by accident. So what are you going to decide? Are you going to decide that you're going to do whatever it takes to get what you wanted when you decided to become a real estate agent? Or are we going to say, are we going to fight for the limitations that we believe we have? Because I'll tell you, if you fight for the limitations hard enough, you can keep them. Right? We can only try to convince people they have more potential if they'll listen. Make sense? I feel like I'm kind of a little in your face today, but I can't see anyone's face or reactions. Anyone have any thoughts on anything we've covered?
I'll speak. I'll
Okay.
say, and I know I'm probably the newest person here, but I feel like for me, it's the fear comes from just a lack of feeling prepared.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't gotten together any presentations yet or looked, you know, gotten that far and just trying to figure out getting it all together so that I can feel comfortable even reaching out to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I totally understand that. And there's no judgment whatsoever on that. There's some people that will jump in the lake and then learn how to swim. And there's some people that will stare at the lake and practice swimming over and over and over and over and over, and maybe decide to jump in the lake at some point, right? And truthfully, I don't really think you're either one. You're probably somewhere in the middle, right? Which is we want to get some kind of baseline education, like they're saying, right? Let's watch some videos, let's practice it a bunch, let's read the script book, let's get an accountability partner, let's watch some videos, let's learn a little bit about how others are being successful, let's attend some classes, and then let's try it, right? Let's call a neighbor, call a friend, say, hey, you know, as you know, I jumped into the real estate business, I'm having a lot of fun, and you know, what I know is that I better figure this out if I'm going to be successful. And I want you to know I'm committed to figuring it out. I got a productivity coach. I got a group of over 80 people that want to see me be successful just in my productivity coaching group alone. And I was wondering, could I borrow you for 20 minutes and present this to you and practice, and you can give me some feedback? Do you think that's showing that you're committed to your work and committed to excellence? Maybe that's a good way to lead generate, for crying out loud. Right?
Definitely.
Right? So we don't want you to practice on your clients. We want you to practice on your peers, right? Your accountability partner, your colleague. Make sense? Because we worked hard for those people, right? We worked hard for those possible appointments. Make sense? Okay. Any final thoughts on committing to self-mastery? All right, let's talk about, why don't we do let's just do a couple more minutes if you guys are cool with this on the 80-20 principle, okay? The 80-20 principle, here's a little illustration. 20% of your effort will result in 80% of your results, right? And therefore, 80% of your effort will take 20% of the results. Now, it's important to know what results you're after, right? So if you were to take a guess with a real estate spin on it, what results do you think we should be after? Who wants to volunteer and answer there? I'll give you a hint. It's on the reporting page. Come on now.
Closing?
What?
Appointment? I said
Yes.
appointments, or is it closing?
Yep. Appointments, income. What else? What leads to appointments? Conversations, contacts. And what leads to appointments and what leads ultimately to closings is expanding our sphere, right? Is adding people to the database and moving people that are, you know, in the database to a more urgent situation, right? To create a desire to transact business, right? To move somebody that, I'm not saying take somebody that doesn't want to buy and make them buy. I'm just saying, you know, be in a relationship with them. So when they have a question or they have a need, they come to you and you can move the process forward. Does that make sense? Okay, so number one, we got to make sure we're focused on the right results. Guys, you're so quiet today. Okay, this is the instructor manual, so it's got like a bunch of tips and strategies and stuff. Okay, let me show you this graph right here. See this to-do list? Could do, could do, could do, should do, could do, should do, could do, should do. What we want to do, this is full of the items from the 20% and the 80%. And this, the success list, is what Gary says are the only items you should do. Now, you do have to spend some time on the 80%, but you don't have to spend all day on the 80%. But you know what? The 80%, generally, it has, you can see the results of it faster, right? And it feels like work. And because we love immediate gratification, boy, if I tell you to write some emails and check some emails and update your database or update your website and all this kind of stuff, that's 80% work. It's probably not going to generate an appointment for you. It's probably not going to generate a pending for you or a new person in your pipeline, right? And therefore, we've got to ask ourselves, like, are we kidding ourselves? Like, that stuff is not as much fun, like pounding the phones or talking to your friends or bringing up real estate or whatever. Like, yet that's what creates the relationships and that's what creates the clients. So if you're spending all your time doing things that aren't leading to appointments, outside of getting the baseline knowledge, you got to reconsider what you do on a daily basis. Does that make sense? That's why each week we encourage you, sometimes more strongly than others, hint, hint, to put your numbers out there so we can all take stock at where we're at, right? And it's kind of, I mean, to me, it just seems insane to me, but obviously my brain thinks differently than a lot of people. Like, let's say you wanted to lose weight, but you refuse to get on the scale to see how you're doing. How much sense does that make? Please, somebody answer me and tell me that makes no sense. Somebody, come on.
That makes no sense, Bill.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That makes no sense. So if you're trying to build a real estate business and make some money and help some people, doesn't it seem reasonable that you'd want to check your progress every once in a while? Now, somebody tell me that makes a lot of sense, please.
That makes a lot of sense.
Do y'all have fun in here or what?
Yes.
You're cracking me up. Okay, let's just look at one more thing here, okay? The one question, or the one thing question is, what is the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary, right? In real estate, if you don't know the answer, just say lead generation. There's a really good chance you'll be right, okay? If you have no clue what we're talking about, say, would lead generation help? You'll be right every time, okay? If you don't like doing paperwork, go find another piece of business so you can have more money so you can pay somebody to do the paperwork. But until you do that, it's your job, right? It's kind of like if you open up a restaurant and you haven't hired anyone, then you're in charge of seating all the people, cleaning up all the tables, ordering all the food, cooking all the food, delivering all the food, right? How ridiculous is that? You're going to need help on day one. But real estate agents, we think we can do it all, even though most of the jobs we don't want to do or we don't want to learn how to do. Some of the principles of the 80-20 principle are to understand what the big rocks are. That's why we talk about the big rocks a lot. And then to have a form like the 411, right? I didn't even have to reach my arm fully out to get my 411, right? So is this staying with you all month, all day, so that you know exactly what to work on? And what you should be working on is the 20% stuff so that you can move the ball forward and get the 80% results. Okay, Let's close out with just a summary thought or two. Who has learned something today that they would like to share?
If all of your activities are not resulting in appointments, then reevaluate what you're doing so that you can get yourself some appointments.
That's right. There has never in the history of the world ever been a closing without first having an appointment. Y'all want some closings?
Actually, I have to.
Are you going to disagree with me?
Yeah, I had a closing and I didn't have an appointment. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was at an open house and they came up. This is like a golden goose laid an egg in my lap. So this is not a typical scenario, mind you, but I was at an open house and I was going over to hand them some information and introduce myself. And they said, "Oh, we don't have a realtor." I was like, "Oh, well, I was just coming over to give you my card." And we went out on the deck and they said, "I think we're going to put an offer on the house." And I said, "Oh, well, I'd be more than happy to help you with that." So we didn't even have, I mean, it was off to the races from the get-go.
I would still, yeah, I hear you. You're picking at my words a little bit, which is good because I teach you that words are very important, right? I would still call that an appointment though. You had an appointment to talk about how to put in an offer, or you had an appointment to talk about what the offer was going to read. But you had to make a presentation. You had to get belly to belly with them.
Right. And so I'm not trying to pick because I don't want.
I like being challenged.
Yeah. Well, I needed to infuse a little energy into this meeting.
I know, gosh, what do we need to do around here, y'all? Huh. All right, somebody take us out. Who else had a cool thought? Chantrell, you've been on video the whole time. I want to personally thank you for that. Tell us what you've learned today.
Oh God, Bill. I'm just here.
You thought you were here to get a real estate education, didn't you?
I'm listening, but I'm working at the same time. So
all right. Well, the one thing says you're supposed to work on one thing. All right, you guys. We'll focus on the other 6 personal perspectives next or tomorrow. Don't forget Friday. What am I trying to say? Candace will be leading the morning huddle, and that'll be on new home construction. Some tips, some strategies, some advice, some background. So that'll be a really important morning session to attend to. And then today, don't forget that we're going to be working on the at 3 o'clock today. In the thing, I said that it was going to be in Candace's room, but it's actually going to be in my room. I'll send out a message about that, and that is going to be what did I say? It's not going to be listing presentation. It's going to be mastering the common scripts. So come in to my room at 3 o'clock today, and we will learn all about mastering the common scripts. Okay, I'll see you soon. Thank you.